the last time we looked at the news, and I realized how big the hurricane was over Louisiana, I said, you know what? I'm in the lower ninth ward. Maybe I should get out of here. You know. So I did. I went to 7th ward, and I'm telling you, the water just came up like that. So I know I wouldn't have stand a chance back here. I lost. We lost a lot of people back here, but you know, a lot of people actually had the opportunity to get out in enough time.
Right. So, and what was it like in the days after the storm?
Actually, surprisingly, right before the storm, it was real pretty. And then the sky got a little dark and the wind came through. And one of my friends I went to Lawless with, he drives the bus, and he stopped me when I was coming from one of my best friend's house around the corner and told me, he said, Chris, I'm telling you, tell everybody you see that's still back here to get out this ninth ward. It's gonna be a disaster. And then I was like, okay, this really is getting serious. So I came here, packed some clothes, and I was on my way back around. Now he was like, I'm trying to pass around here as much as I can in the bus, because he drives for RTA, and it was bringing people, further, to the dome or whatever. And he told me, he said, I ain't gonna even tell you, I'm gonna show you. When we got on the bridge, he said, look down, and I kid you not, where the levee is, the wind alone pushed the water almost to halfway. So probably about 10 or 11 o'clock that evening, because the winds were real strong, the water had to be close to the top of that level, because that's how much the wind was pushing. So it really didn't stand a chance for the levee to hold all that water back, And we surrounded by the canal, the Mississippi River, and the Gulf of Mexico, and Lake Pontchartrain. Yeah, so I did the math. So I really had to get out of there.
I came on the 3rd day after the storm to help Malik, who's our elder. He's a former Black Panther Party member who spent the last 30 to 40 years of his life trying to help those who are poor and who are marginalized. And he refused to leave after the storm. And after the storm, a lot of white individuals from New Orleans, where there's historical racism, organized with guns to protect their communities from looters. And the way they identified who was a friend and foe was based on skin color. And that was the context to which I came to the city, and that's how we started. We started giving food and water and refusing to leave, even though the white racist people of New Orleans wanted to see all the black people leave because they were looters. We realized immediately, right now we're in the lower 9th ward, and the lower 9th ward people weren't allowed to be here until January after the storm. That's, let's see, September, yes, several months after the storm. And when they first opened it up, they said you could be here from 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, and then you couldn't be here anymore. Residents weren't allowed to return after they had been shipped across the entire country. And so we moved into this blue house with the permission of the grandmother that owns it, and we refused to leave. Ultimately, it made them lift the curfew, and we started giving water, food, and medical care out of this house. And we got tools and shovels and rakes and wheelbarrows, and we had them so the community could come and borrow them. We had kitchen equipment and food in a kitchen, and so the community would come and cook meals for the volunteers and for the other people in the community. And that's what we've done. It got a lot of media attention, and one of the reasons we started it was so that residents could have their voice heard in the media, because for some reason when you listen to the residents in Chalmette, which is about 2 miles away, they were standing in front of vacant lots with a FEMA trailer on it, talking about what they were going to do to their property. But when you listen to people talk about the lower 9th ward, a predominantly black area with one of the highest rates of black home ownership in the country, you never saw the residents talking about their property. It was always men in suits talking about it downtown or in Baton Rouge, in the capital. And so we wanted to give an opportunity for the people of the lower Ninth Ward to talk about their own communities. And so when the media would come and say, "What are y'all doing here?" I'd say, "I don't know, why don't you ask the resident?" And it was the first time that you heard a lower Ninth Ward resident speak about what was going on in their community. People down here were left. They were left for 10 days, and then they were marched at gunpoint to the Superdome and to the convention center. And we saw what that was. Everybody across the country saw people begging for help. "God, please help me. My grandmother's dying. When she needs ice, she needs water." And then they were shipped across the country. They could have been shipped across the river less than a mile away, but instead they were shipped to Alaska and Washington State, and they were left there. Then they were cut off, and we had to sue to get them to pay for people's rents for a little while when they had lost everything. And now, almost 2 years later, they're still on waiting lists for FEMA trailers in the United States of America. So that's what we do, is we resist that. We try to empower and use our privilege and our networks of support. Many of us are anti-war protesters, and we're activists. And we decided that we would try to utilize those same networks of support, like Veterans for Peace, and to get relief aid somewhere instead of just protesting. And we call it service-oriented direct action. They need help gutting their homes. 2 years later, they still need help gutting their homes from the mold that's in their homes. We've got it over 1,400, I believe, to date. But we have tool libraries, so most of the house gutting that's going on is happening from residents gutting their own homes with our tools, you know. And then once residents, it's kind of like the same thing with the Lower Ninth Ward Health Clinic. You know, we use our resources because we have privilege to start the clinic, and then the resident works with us to start the clinic, and then the resident runs and owns and operates the clinic. You know, not us. It's not about that. It's solidarity, not charity.
Tell us a little bit more about Common Ground Relief, some of the programs that you're doing in the community.
Well, at first we was just basically was doing a lot of basic relief work, you know, supplying water, ice, food, personal hygiene. That was at first, and then medical aid, because we opened up our health clinic on the 9th of September of '05, and for 3 weeks in the city of New Orleans we operated the only health clinic that was functioning. During that time we were seeing on the average of 100 people a day.
So with all the money that's been allocated for recovery,
where's that?
Yeah,
where's that?
Where is that money?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking you. Where's that?
Billions
I thought maybe you could tell us.
The billions of
because
dollars.
I'll tell you what, it isn't coming to common ground. Only thing we have been is demonized. You know, as being a radical organization because of the fact that, again, we spoke out against these non-competitive bids. We spoke out against the city's lack of will to really meet the most challenging needs of those at risk. We spoke out against the levies because we believe that there are no solutions, that people are right now bidding all their hopes and dreams on a myth that these levees is repaired, that these levees could protect us, because we know that levees will fail. You know, but if the truth be told, you know, the majority of the people was just poor. I mean, working poor, or I won't say poor anymore, because I promised a friend of mine that I won't use that word. Just a deprived community. You know, it was just a deprived community, and people made ends meet. You know, our faith-based institutions played a role in curtailing crime. Because you know, it's hard to tell young people. You know, because I know I was once young, and couldn't nobody tell me that I had to accept these conditions. And when you have an era where we are taking young people and incarcerating them on misdemeanor offenses and putting them in some of the most violent environments outside of war that one can face and still be in America. And that's our prisons and jails and detention centers, without providing any type of rehabilitation. You know. Well, I'm gonna tell you, we done had over 11,000 volunteers. And those 11,000 have helped us raise $2 million. And that $2 million have helped us serve, again, over 140,000 people in direct services, and maybe another 400,000 in indirect services. And by that I mean a person come and make a phone call, get on the internet, or pick up some information that we'll pass out pertaining to how to apply for insurance money, how to apply for FEMA, how to apply for road home money, to the schools that's now open because we helped gut it out, communities where people are now able to come back because we helped clear the land, to the faith-based institutions and community centers that is now open because we helped the parks. So with that, we have served over 500,000.
A man named Francisco came from Austin, Texas, and he stayed with us for the first, more than a year, probably the first 12 months or 14 months, and he just drew portraits of everybody he met, every volunteer, every resident, and he had them write a little bit of their story on the portrait. And it's really meaningful because you have so many different stories, so many different stories that of what people have gone through. And I remember we're in a place where people were going through tragic conditions before the storm that if many of us and the rest of the country knew about would devastate us, much less what they went through during the storm and after.
Hey, what's up, Bishop? Listen, my man.
This house? This house goes ways back in our family. I guess we've been in the family for over 25 years. And it's my aunt's house, my auntie. And, when this happened, I agreed to come down and give them a hand, which it wasn't an agreement with me and them. It was an agreement with me, that if my family ever needed me, now was the time they needed me. So I come down here, and matter of fact, this person was here, and she hadn't put on her little equipment, and she's 70 years old. She's dressed out in her little equipment, and she's picked to come in, and I'm begging her to stay in the car, Oh, man, she wouldn't stay in the car to save us, so it's my house, So she came in here, and I'm steady saying, don't go in there because it's going to fall, And she insisted on going in there, and when she came in, I had to come in, And it was, wow, it was horrible to see her trying to get all the debris out of here, But it was like 6 of us, And she refused to sit down, And I'm steady asking her to have it bulldozed, but she refused. Because this is where all her blood, sweat, and tears are, And like, one thing I can say about her, is that she was raised on God, And the faith in God that she has brought her to this house, because everybody felt to believe there wasn't nothing standing back here, but she come to see. And when she seen the house still standing, she figured you know, it's hers, she'll do something about it. So, you know, the family got together and we started getting it out. And, well, by that time, Common Ground passed through, you know, and they stopped and gave us a hand. Then, you know, it made things a whole lot better because by then she was coughing, you know what I'm saying, sore, you know. So when Common Ground gave us that assistance, we was able to get her to go back to Texas, you know. And she said she was coming back. Everything was just in rubbles on top of each other, you know. I mean, even the refrigerator, big double-door refrigerator, it was laying flat of its back. You know what I mean? The stove was on top of the refrigerator, you know. And to me, it looked like no hope. But as, you know, we was determined to get the things out, you begin to see a house, you know, that it is still a house, you know. And the way these houses was built in that time, you know, is the reason why this house is still standing. Like the plastered walls, you know. Like the water sit here for so long till the weight of the debris collapsed the floors, you know. And it's not surprising that this house took that punishment, you know, because the builders in those days built with their heart, you know, and that's what you're looking at, pure heart, you know. But at the same time, like I speak about Common Ground, this was January the 1st when I come back here, 06. And right around the corner, they was telling us that they had supplies that we can use, you know, shovels and, you know, just tools. So we went around there and they even had one little pallet sitting in the middle of the driveway around there, where they had canned goods and water and soap and toothpaste and it was nice to see that, you know. So they asked you, I mean, they did everything they could to assist you with whatever you needed, you know. So it was like, you know, Common Ground just become the government, you know, overnight, you know. And I was suspicious of them, though. I'm going to tell you the truth. I was suspicious of them. You know, they say they come here to help me. I'm like, yeah, right. You know, but then when I got here, I was already bitter and mad because I had been through a storm before, which was Bessie, September the 9th, 1965. And I remember when I made 8 years old on that day. And I remember when the water went down enough for us to open the door and come out, because we had like a 4-foot porch. And when we come out, I remember my grandmother making a statement, now you know we have to feed these babies. And she dove right into the water. And we was, you know, I was like excited, look at Grandma, look at Grandma. And my grandfather dove in, and then my dad dove in. And Mom and the 6 kids just stood on the porch and watched him swim. And then when they went around the corner, everything just got quiet. And we stood there and stood there and stood there, you know, and it was real tense moment then, you know, but we didn't understand fear, you know. And then the next hour or so, here come Grandma, and she's side stroking with a can of goods on her shoulder, and then Dad and Grandpa behind her, you know. And sure enough, they fed those babies, and I was one of them. So when I was working...
We're from Advent Lutheran Church in Olathe, Kansas.
And what are you doing here?
We're helping the homeowner out, helping just gut his house, muck it out, take all his possessions out, clean up his yard a little bit.
We're also going to bleach the house, just to kill all the germs.
And where's the owner of the house right now?
He's not here. He's staying in a FEMA trailer over on a friend's property in another part of New Orleans. He was here yesterday. He brought us lunch. He was able to just show us some pictures from what happened, and it's pretty cool. He survived in his attic for 3 days and then punched a hole out and was rescued and had to survive on an overpass for another 3 days before they took him to the Superdome. So
For 3 days.
He was on this roof for 3 days.
yeah, he was in his attic up there. Then you can see where he punched
the hole.
through.
There's a hole
Right
there.
up there.
And it was. He was with his neighbor. His neighbor came over, and she stayed with him until they were rescued. So.
And how long are you going to be down here?
We've been here at this site since Monday. We're going to hopefully finish up this afternoon, and we're working until Friday here with Lutheran Disaster Relief. So.
Go ahead, talk about the gutting of the home.
It'll sometimes be emotional because like some of the things people have, like you would have in like your own house and stuff, and so it just sort of helps you imagine like what would happen if this was my house and stuff. It's just sort of emotional sometimes.
Found some old pictures, and the pictures are all just ruined by the water, and we found a couple that were salvageable, but most of them are gone. So
it's pretty emotional.
yeah, it really is. I didn't think it would be as hard as it was. Even seeing like the dishes and
Well, I think Common Ground Relief is doing something that's very unique and special here. Malik Rahim has activated this 9th Ward. The 9th Ward is an area of very valuable property. At the time of the hurricane, out of 100% of this community, 80% of the people were homeowners. They were a largely black population. They took this land generations and generations ago. They bought it, they paid for it, they've built it up into a vibrant community. Everyone loves New Orleans because of its culture and its music. Well, the people that lived in this 9th Ward were a significant factor creating this wonderful culture. And as this town grew and grew and grew, it wanted more land, and they were eyeing up this 9th Ward because it's economically valuable now. It's there's a canal here where they believe it would be beautiful to bring in cruise ships, and they want to build hotels and casinos here. So they looked, the leadership down here of the government looked at Hurricane Katrina as nature's gentrification force. They don't want the people to come back here, and they're doing everything they can to stop it. And I don't know if you want to go through some of the tactics or not, and we can if you want to ask me that, but these people in this community are fighting back. They've encouraged people from all over the United States to come here and help them. And there are people from all over coming, students, older people, retired people. People are taking their vacations and coming down here to help rebuild this community. And part of the program down here is education. At night after you work, people will stay till 11, 12 o'clock at night in meetings discussing the details of what's going on and what the dreams and hopes of these people are. And we're taking it back to our communities. There are videos that are being produced. We're taking them back to our communities. We want the whole country to know that there is a force down here opposing governmental oppression, building a community on their own because the government won't help. And maybe we're going to learn, we don't need this government. Maybe we're going to learn that we don't need to be beholden to those who don't care about us and who are basically oppressing us. And once that happens, the whole thing can change. Well, it's really funny. The United States government from the beginning always wanted to take whatever they took and be able to say it was lawful. You know, the Indians we had treaties with, and even though the treaties were unfair swindles of a Aboriginal population that didn't understand the swindling means of the Europeans, the system likes to point to these treaties. And then anytime that, you know, taking a third of Mexico, it was supposedly because the Mexicans invaded the United States, and Lincoln was opposed to that war, and he said, I want to know the spot where the Mexicans invaded the United States, and that spot was never disclosed to Lincoln, because there ain't no spot. So we always, our country, not me, our country, our nation rather, our leaders, not our country, not our nation, the leaders, the elites that control this country, that occupy this country, always want the facade of legality. So what are they doing down here? They ship these people thousands of miles into different directions throughout this country, so they're not here anymore.
One-way bus ticket.
One-way bus ticket. And they're, you know, at the bottom of the economic ladder, mostly where they are, minimum wage. They don't have enough money to pay for their living expenses where they are. They're part of that 43 million that work hard every day and can't afford the necessities of life. They aren't back here yet. They want to be back here. So their land, you know, the structures were removed. It's growing up with weeds. So it's called the New Orleans good neighbor policy. If you let the weeds get too high because you're stuck in Galveston, Texas, or Boston, Massachusetts, they post the land and say if you don't clean it within a certain period of time, the city will lien it for doing the necessary cleanup or whatever, and then sheriffs sell that property, or they'll confiscate that property. That's a sham. And the reason it's a sham is there's city-owned land down here in this 9th Ward, and you can see it from where I'm sitting, that used to be a playground, or used to be a place where there's a public school. The weeds are as high there as anywhere else. So maybe the 9th Ward citizens ought to go and say to the city, we posted your land. If you don't clean it up, the citizens are going to claim it. Tit for tat. That's one of the most horrendous ways that is currently being used. And what's going on right now, this construction of some of the houses that were revived, is to make sure the government doesn't destroy those houses. And from there we have headquarters, and the people down here are going to clean the land of the citizens that can't do it themselves to keep the city from taking it. There's an epic battle here between two different forces. The forces of capitalism that wants to take this land and develop it for profit, and the forces who lived here and had a vibrant community. The houses have been passed on from generation to generation to generation. They want to come back and have their community back, and that's a dream that can serve as a model for the whole world.
I think it was the other
What we're trying to do, guys, is get the entire lower 9th Ward cleaned up. We're going to start on Des Lawn. We have 3 mowers. What we want to do is have 3 or 4 people hit each lot, go through, pick up big pieces of concrete, any trash, anything that would stop a lawnmower.
So,
through about 2 weeks ago. Lower 9th is one of those areas. What are the needs still in those devastated communities like the lower 9th?
I would say the first thing we need is, even though I know that won't happen, is trauma counselors. You know, we need people that understand, that sit down and just listen to people, to be there with them when they come back and see their. I mean, you know, imagine, I don't know exactly where you're from, but imagine going back to your home and finding nothing. I mean, nothing. Your whole house is gone. You know, and then nobody around to offer you any type of assistance. So that's the first thing we need. Somebody, you know, we try to talk to our volunteers and to be understanding, to be able to sit down and listen to people. Sometimes you might say that they're talking too much or something else, but let them get all this frustration off them. So that's the first thing. establish the mechanism of hope, of restoring hope. Second, we need volunteers that's, not only volunteers, but we need contractors.
Skilled electrician, carpenters, builders.
Right. We're not asking them all to just come down and volunteer because there's employment opportunities. But we need progressive contractors. We need progressive journeymen in the construction field to come down and work with us. We need lawyers, to help us through the maze that the government has set forth and to channel through to find these fundings that are supposed to have been allocated to us, and to deal with these insurance companies, because we found out after Hurricane Katrina we wasn't in good hands with Allstate.
So the insurance companies refused to settle claims. What was their rationale?
Well, in many cases they said that Katrina only hit us with wind. That the flooding was man-made. So they used that as an excuse.
And a lot of people, of course, had no insurance, but those who did and were expecting to receive settlements got nothing.
In most cases, they got kicked in the ass even worse than the ones who didn't have anything. Excuse my expression from saying it. Like I tell anyone, they kicked everybody in the behind with their bare feet. But for those who had who had insurance, they got kicked in most cases with steel-toed shoes.
And this is another area where the government, federal or state, could hold the insurance companies accountable and make them pay, but they haven't done that. That could be another form of assistance that they could provide.
And the last is the banks. We didn't hold our banking institutions responsible. They're closing now on our faith, not only on the houses, but on our faith-based institution. Knowing that in many cases in that lower ninth ward, these congregations have been busted up.
And those have been the anchors of the community.
Right.
Well, I had to deal with it. The first couple of times I came back, I cried. I cried really bad. But once you get through the morning part, it's time to do the healing. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm writing the stuff that I'm writing and trying to get it out and documenting everything that needs to be, because people need to understand if they want to come back, and that there are people that want to come back here and that's getting their lives together. Ain't too many trailers in this area, but on the other side and further back, there's a lot of people that came back, that's rebuilding their
back there, there's a lot of people.
I want to get their opinions as well, and their story as well as telling my own for the documentation.
Everybody got different stories.
Yeah, they really
many stories to tell.
And a lot of people don't
hear that.
A lot of people don't understand it. Like,
we saw part of the roof. My porch is on the other side of this trailer. As you can see, a lot of these people's houses just like floated away. They don't know where. Or they just crumble, But with the good Lord's help, we done made it back. And we hoping for better things to come. That's right.
So, Common Ground, is our government. You know what I mean? So, I would like to right now, since Common Ground has made this their foundation, this is Common Ground's foundation because we are Common Ground. We are Common Ground. So therefore, we are going to build on Common Ground.
One more time, y'all.
Excuse me, let me put enough crab. There you go.
That's a good thing. I always had the crab legs.
Exactly, yeah.
But they was easy.
Nothing on this. Crack the head off. Then hold the head down. Pinch me.
Rockefeller, I know your children sleep good tonight. Hey, Mr. Rockefeller, I know your children, I know your children sleep good tonight. I don't remember everything I read, but I do remember about old Lord, Lord, I remember about old Lord. Rockefeller, I know your children, I know your children sleep good tonight. Hey, Mr. Rockefeller, I know your children, I know your children.